Derek says, "Hey Bradley, what's going on? Recently, I heard incidences where people manage all their clients' GBP listings under the same agency email, which is a commercial or manager Google account, right, which is a workspace account. And when their agency email got suspended by random occurrence, all the GBP listings their agency email was a manager of got suspended as well. See, I've not heard of that. I've heard if you have an owner, an email account as an owner that is added to, whether it doesn't even have to be the primary owner, but just an owner. I've not heard about it happening from a manager account. I have heard it happening from an owner account. Like if you have a Google account that is added as an owner to multiple GBPs and the owner account gets suspended, it can suspend all of the GBPs it was associated with. I'm not saying it can't happen with a manager. I have just never experienced that or heard of that from others. So there is a difference between being added as a manager and being added as an owner. The primary owner, obviously, if the primary owner's account gets suspended, it's going to suspend the GBP. But as a secondary owner or an additional owner, I know that can suspend all accounts associated with it. But I didn't know that a manager could do that. I've not experienced it myself or heard of that from others. I'm not saying it's not true. I'm just saying I haven't heard about it. So to carry on with the question, I currently have all my GBP listings managed by William Jones' team, and they do use the same email to manage all the GBP listings. So I'm kind of worried that if the email they use to manage my GBP listings ever gets suspended, all my GBP listings they manage for me will get suspended as well. Yeah, I mean, if it is true that as a manager account, everything that the manager is associated with can get suspended, then that would be a concern I would have too. Again, I've never heard that before, which is why with my white label services, we have a workspace account email that we ask to be added as a manager, and it is the same workspace account. But when somebody leaves us, by the way, we go in and remove ourselves as the manager so that we're not added to a bunch of GBPs out there that we're actually not managing. So we're very good about going in and removing that manager access if client cancels. So but yeah, I mean, if that's a true statement, I'm not calling you a liar. Okay. I've just never heard of it. I've never seen it. But if that is a true statement, that is something to be concerned about. What would you suggest are the best practices in order to prevent incidences like this, where all the GBP listings get suspended due to a manager account managing all the GBPs listings getting suspended? Well, don't use any services that are going to have their same white label or same email address added as a manager to dozens or hundreds or thousands of GBPs. Like, I mean, there's no other way to mitigate that other than to just not use services that are going to do that if that is the case. Okay. But again, that I find that a bit suspect because again, a primary owner or an owner account, I can understand, but not a manager account, because that would just think about large agencies or Bright Local or White Spark or Local Falcon. Well, we all know what happened with them, right? I think it was Local Falcon that had the problem a while back with a dirty API, and a bunch of people shit got suspended. I'm not saying I don't know if it was Local Falcon or Local Viking. I think it was Local Viking, not Local Falcon. I know they cleaned up all that, resolved all that stuff. Whichever one it was, I don't remember. I'm not trying to talk bad about it. They resolved all that stuff. But what I'm saying is, there are a lot of big agencies out there that are added as a manager to a lot of to hundreds or thousands of Google business profiles. And so I can't imagine a manager account could do that, but maybe I'm wrong. I could be wrong. I'm not saying that that's not possible. I've just never heard of it. And it doesn't seem to make any sense to me why a manager account would, if a manager account got terminated, that would suspend all of those that it's attached to, because it's not an owner, it's a manager, right? It's a vendor, it's a contractor. Does that make sense? So anyway, but if that's true, then that would be a concern, and that would be something that I would ask before ever using a white label service or an agency for any of my projects. I would ask, are you going to set up a dedicated account as a manager for this, or is this attached to other GBPs? And if they say it's attached to other GBPs, I'd say, well, I'm going to require a dedicated account. Or you could create a workspace account user for your workspace account, and then assign that account to them. You're going to pay for it, $7.20 per month for a basic starter account, workspace user. But then at least you're mitigating that potential risk. Does that make sense? But some agencies aren't going to do that, because can you imagine as an agency that's managing dozens or hundreds or even thousands of clients, if they had to have separate logins for every single GBP and they have a large team, could you imagine how complicated that would be? So that's why there is that ability for us to add an email as a manager, because then an agency can manage many accounts from one login, one workspace, or one Gmail account. So hopefully that's clear. What would you suggest I do? Avoid any services that have emails accounts that are added as managers across dozens of GBPs, but it's going to be difficult to do because most services that are GBP related are going to, unless it's an API connection or something, it's going to be all similar type of connection.